looking here. Awesome. Perfect. So you guys know, obviously, right now we have our leadership number four, which we're going to talk about today. And the topic for today is on leadership and duplication. Okay. This is pretty much two of my favorite topics, leadership and duplication, because I know how important it is for an individual like all of us to become great leaders, right? And if you think about all the great leaders in Riemann today, right? You look at Mr. Danny Bay, right? He is the epitome of great leadership, right? And, I remember him 13 years ago. I remember him, in his earlier days into where he's become today, right? His leadership skills and his leadership personality of who he is today is the reason why he's at his current position, and that's why so many are following people like Mr. Danny Bay because of his leadership attributes and his capabilities, right? And of course, duplication, another important topic where it's the key in our business. Remember that in our industry and in our business, it's not about what you do, but it's about what you duplicate, right? Duplication is the key and the secret into building a business where you could really have time freedom, where you could have leveraged income, where you could build great passive income, right? That's the whole reason why our industry and our business is so attractive, because we duplicate leaders, right? We create leaders and duplicate more leaders, and that builds leverage income and passive income so that all of us can, of course, enjoy time freedom as well. So we're going to talk about these two topics. And the first thing about leadership I want to talk to all of you guys is your leadership is the lid on your team's results. What do I mean by that? Okay. What I mean by that is this. All of us that are on the call today, if there was a leadership number from 1 to 10, we all have a number, whether it's 2, 3, 4, 5, or 10, or whichever number you are. The higher number you are in your leadership skill level, right? That means you're a better leader. So if you're a leader, if your leadership level is at a 7 or 8 or 9, that means you're a top leader. If you're only at a 4, you still have work to do. If you're only at a 1 or 2, you're at the beginning stages, right? Now, why this is so important is this. If your leadership level is only at a 1 or 2 or 3, guess where your team is at? Your team, if you're at a 3, most likely your team is at a 1. If your leadership level is at an 8, your team level is probably at a 4, right? So you have to understand that as you grow your leadership level, right, and you get better personally as a leader, right, that's the only way your team will grow. I remember in my early days in this industry, I was asking myself, I'm working hard, but my team is not growing. I'm working hard, but my team is not producing. I'm working hard, but there's no great leaders. What's going on, right? What am I doing wrong in my business, right? My mentor told me, Steve, you have to work on becoming a better leader. Because if you work on personal development, leadership skills, and you become a better leader, automatically your team grows as well. See, if your leadership level is only at a 4 to 5, your team cannot surpass that. So when I heard that, I had a really big aha moment. As soon as I heard that, do you know what I did? I worked on myself every single day. I worked on myself every single day. At that point, I realized, you know what? I'm not a good leader. That's when I realized many, many years ago, I realized, you know what? I'm not a good leader yet. I don't have a good leader attribute yet. I don't have the qualities of a top leader yet, right? Because don't get me wrong, guys, you see me who I am today, but in my earlier stages, I was not the best leader. I've made mistakes, right? I've done things that was not perfect. I've done things that was wrong, right? I wasn't a good leader very, very many, many, many years ago, right? In my earlier days when I first got started in the industry over 13 years ago, right? So that's when I realized, oh my gosh, it's not my team, it's not the company, it's not the products, it's me. I gotta fix me, right? So as soon as I heard that, guess what I did? As I mentioned, I worked on myself every single day to become a better leader, right? So that I can grow myself, but more importantly, to grow my team, right? John C. Maxwell always talks about it, right? Everything rises and falls on leadership. Your team will never consistently outgrow your leadership. It's the ceiling, right? The fastest way to raise your results isn't a new tactic, it's raising the leader, right? When you grow your leaders, your business grows. So remember, for all of us to grow, and all of us, for our team to grow, we first must become better leaders. Yes, all of us today are on this leadership session. All of us today are getting the information to grow ourselves, to eventually help our team members. But the future lessons we have, the future trainings you have, we want to make sure we keep on plugging in our team members so they also can learn as well. Okay, so remember that. Okay, that number first thing is you want to grow your lid to as high as possible. Okay, and the 5 levels and where duplication lives are these 5 things. Okay, remember this, guys. Leadership is influence. Okay, nothing more, nothing less. And you climb by earning more of it one level at a time. Now, here are the 5 levels I'm going to talk about. Okay, the first level is the position. Think about when you had a job, right? And you had a boss and you listened to your boss. Why did you listen to your boss at your job? Why? Because you had to, because he's your boss, right? You didn't really have a choice because that person had a position, right? Now, that's the first thing. People sometimes have a position and people listen to them because they have a position, right? Just like if you saw somebody in the company that was a team leader or director and you're a brand new planner, you might just follow them because they're your team leader or director because they have the position. But remember this, guys. Position is the lowest form, the lowest part of the leadership slide, okay? Lowest part. Position doesn't mean much, okay? Just letting all of you know, right? You could have bad bosses and you won't follow them. You could have bad leaders and you won't follow them, right? But so remember that position doesn't mean much, but of course people follow a position because they're at that position. Here's a second level of leadership, okay, which is obviously better than position, which is the permission stage, okay? The permission stage is where you built a lead, you've built a relationship with the individual, and now that individual wants to follow you because they want to, not because they have to, but because they want to. You built a relationship with your leaders. Now they actually want to work with you. They like working with you. You have a relationship with them, right? That's better than the positional leader. Okay. That's better than the positional leader, right? So, yes, building relationships is important because now once you do so, you want to follow them. For example, I've been, friends with Danny Bay for 13 plus years, right? I don't have to follow him, but I want to because why? We have a good relationship. We have a good relationship, right? It wasn't about his title, his money, or whatever, his cars, his home, the reason why I want to follow him. Yes, of course, all that is impressive. And that's, of course, all his achievements, but it was a relationship. It was a relationship, right? So for all of you that are going to be building your teams, remember the relationship, right? The relationship is where it's built at, and that builds another level of leadership, okay? Third is production, the production leader, okay? Here, it's because of results. People follow you of what you've done. People follow you of what you've done, you know? And this is a key level because at the end of the day, right? You want to follow someone that already has success. You want to follow someone that already has results, right? If a team leader is doing 100,000 SP a month in open line production, hey, that's somebody you want to follow. Hey, if there's a director, senior director, national directors, right? These are people you want to follow. Why? Because they have the results, right? You always want to follow people that have the results, right? That's a key stage, right? And people will follow you. People will follow you more when you have the production, right? Not just the position, not just the permission, but also the production. See, if you could have the position, the permission, the production, right? That's a great leader. That's like being a top team leader, right? Top team leader, okay? Now, the next stage is called the people development stage, right? This is what's called reproduction leader, right? Where leaders are born, where you build leaders. This is where the duplication happens. Usually the stage starts at the director and higher level, right? Where it's not about just you anymore. You have a couple leaders, but now at the director level, you're producing leaders. You're producing multiple leaders, right? This is where you want to go next, right? This is even a higher level of leadership, right? When you can produce other leaders, right? When you can produce them, that's called a reproduction leader, right? And when you're people developing, that's where you want to be at. That's another higher level as well. And the highest stage you could be at is the pinnacle, right? Is respect. People just follow you because who you are now. It's like Danny Bay, right? People follow him because of who he is. If you think about, for example, like national directors, Tim Her and Chris Kim, okay? That was Danny Bay's mentors back then, but they joined Remont. Not because the products, not because only the comp plan. Yes, all that is amazing, but they joined because of Danny. I joined because of Danny. I didn't join because of the products. I didn't join because of the comp plan. I didn't join about any of that. I joined because of who Danny is. He's at the pinnacle level, right, of 100% respect, right? So you want to be at that level as well, right? All the national directors today are at that level of highly respected because of what they've accomplished, right? You guys want to get to that level as well. People now follow you for who you are. They know what you accomplished. They know that you already have the position. You already have the permission. You already have the relationship, right? You already have the results, right? You've already produced many leaders already. And now you're at the pinnacle of leadership, right? That's where you want to go to, right? So ask yourself today, what number are you on? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And know what you got to do to get to the next level, right? We all know where we are today. We all know where we are today, right? But we also know what we got to do, right? And these are steps on how to increase your leadership levels, okay? Level 4 is a jump from producer to multiplier. We just talked about level 4, which I mentioned, people development, right? This is when you can multiply your results, your results, right? You saw earlier, level 3 is production. You get rid of the results. You could be the best recruiter, closer, producer. The team leans on you. Powerful, but it caps at personal capacity. So, for example, when I was a team leader, number one team leader in North America, I was doing 100,000 SP, 100,000 SP, 100,000 SP. At the end of the day, there's a limit to that. Okay, there's a limit to that. When I was a level 3 leader at the time as a TL, there was a limit to that, right? What I had to do was this: I had to shift from me not being the star and having other people be the star, right? When you could shift of you not being the star anymore and you have your team members become the star, right? Now guess what's happening, right? You're moving the work. Yeah, right? You're developing other people, right? And now your other people are the shining stars. Your other people are your main leaders, right? And as that happens, you're reproducing the leaders. That's how leaders are born. When I was building out in Asia, when I was building out in Taiwan, right? Working with Jackie and Winnie, right? It was their face. It was their achievements. It was me clapping for them. It wasn't, oh, Steve Hyun did all the Taiwan work. No, it wasn't about me. It was about my leaders in the front of the room. It was about my leaders getting posted, right? That's how you reproduce leaders. And that's how you become a level 4 leader, right? You pour into people who build others. Your influence compounds, the team grows, whether you're in the room or not. All that influence, all the help, all the assist. Now, when you're gone, that room is still building. That market is still building because you've shifted from, instead of you becoming the star, they're becoming the star. That's how you become a leader that produces leaders. And you want to do that each market, each city, each country, and do it over and over and over and over again, right? Here's another thing I want to talk to you guys about, and it's called your identity is a thermostat, not a thermometer, okay? Ed Milet talks about this many times. A thermometer, okay, it reads the room. A thermometer, if you think about a thermometer, what does it do? It reads the temperature, right? A thermostat, it sets the temperature, okay? Your self-image, okay, your self-image sets the temperature of your results. And you can reset it. Ed Milet says this: what we perceive about ourselves is what we believe about ourselves. And here's how this works. I'll explain to you, and we'll do an activity, okay? First thing is this: it starts with your belief, okay? Every one of us on the call today, we have a belief of who we are, okay? That's number one. The second thing that happens is attention. Your focus, right, has a reticular activating system that filters the world, right? And what I mean by that is this: every day, thousands of thoughts come into your mind. Thousands of images, thoughts come into your mind. But our brain, our mind, our RS only filters the things that we want to pay attention to. So if it's your life, your kids, your family, your work, whatever that's important to you, that's what you focus on. Something that's not important, your mind doesn't focus on. That's how our mind works, okay? And whatever we bring into our inside of our mind, of our brain and information, we take action based on that, and then the results happen. And then that's how the whole cycle is. And I'll share with you guys an example, okay? I'll do an example with you guys right now. I'll give you an example of the whole RAS, reticular activity system, right? Look around your room today, where you are today. Look at your house today for 5 seconds and think about everything that's blue. What do you see in your room today, right now, that's blue? Look around for 5 seconds and see what's blue, okay? For 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, now close your eyes. Close your eyes and tell me, right? Ask yourself this question. How many items did you find that was gray? Do you know how many items you found that were gray? You probably don't know. Why? Because you were looking for blue. You were looking for blue. You don't know how many gray items there were there because your mind was looking for blue. You guys can open up your eyes right now. It's the same thing as this. If you believe you're not a great leader, if you believe you're not getting customers, if you believe you're not good at pop-ups, you're not a good speaker, you're not a good trainer, guess what happens to your mind automatically? Your reticular activity system makes you believe that you're not. When you say things about yourself and you get, oh, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at that, automatically your mind thinks that you're not good at it. And that's what happens. And now your belief level changes, your actions changes because you tell yourself you're not good at it, right? And that leads you to your results. So some of you today right now that are not happy with your results today is because your belief level is not where you want it to be at. You got to change your belief level. You got to change your belief level. Tell yourself you're a national director. Tell yourself you're going to become a great speaker, a great trainer, right? A great customer getter, a great team builder, a great person that does pop-ups, right? You got to tell yourself that. You got to believe in that every single day. And if you do so, I'm telling you, your belief changes, your RAS system changes, your actions, your results, everything change. You got to believe in it every single day. Believe in yourself every single day. I'm telling you, once you do that, everything will change. Everything will change. And that's the difference. I'm telling you right now, that's the difference how there's some top producers and low producers is because their belief level, okay? Just like how you was looking for blue and now you can't find gray because you weren't looking for gray. It's the same thing as if you drove today and asked you, hey, tomorrow, only look for cars that were red. And then when you came home, if I asked you, hey, how many cars were yellow? You wouldn't know because you weren't looking for it, right? Because your mind, right, was looking for something else. But if you tell your mind and you believe yourself, you could become a great leader and you will be a great leader. I'm telling you right now, your results, your action, your results will be highly different from everybody else. So tell yourself and believe in yourself that you are a great leader. Tell yourself that you will become a director, a senior director, a national director, and think about it every single day, okay? Does it make sense, everyone? Right? Clear? Great. Let's move on. Here's something all of you have to understand. You don't get your goals, you get your standards, okay? This is so important, okay? So important. A goal, okay, is what you want. A standard is what you'll tolerate. When the two disagree, your standard always wins and your team quietly adopts to your standard, not your goal. Let me give an example. Goals, okay, are saying things like, oh, you know what? I want my team to grow this year. Oh, you know what? I want to, I'm going to work hard when I feel motivated, okay? And if things get difficult, you might take a break a little bit, right? Like goals, we can always set goals. Like, all right, I'm going to go for this month because this month I'm so motivated. Steve did a training. I got fired up. I got excited. I'm going to work hard this month. I went to a convention. Vegas was amazing. Oh my gosh, I'm so fired up. This month, I'm going to go all out. And I'm going to do this, this, and this. And you got it done. That was your goal. But next month, you slow down. The next month, you slow down. The next month, you slow down. And maybe the following month, you start working hard again, right? See, standards, here's the difference, guys. Standards means what you've refused to drop below. Meaning you'll make calls every single day. You'll do Zoom calls every single day because that's a standard. Your identity is dependent on you now. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna work when I feel like it. I'll take a break here. It's not about that. When you have an identity of and a standard of who you are, of what you do on a daily basis, right? It just comes natural, right? You don't need motivation because it's your standard and you're non-negotiable. When I was a team leader, right, on my way to director, I had a standard, okay? I had very high standards, and here's what my standards were. As a team leader, my standard was I have to make minimum 20,000 US dollars a month. That was my standard. Anything below $20,000 a month in income, I was disgraced at myself. I was mad at myself because my standard was 20,000. That was my floor. That was my floor. Some people say 20,000 could be your ceiling. 20,000 was my rock bottom. 20,000 was my rock bottom. I told myself, you know what? $20,000 is my rock bottom. I cannot make anything under 20,000. And here's what happened. I only made above $20,000 because 20,000 became my standard. Doing Zoom calls every single day, that became the standard. It wasn't like, oh, I'm so tired now. Do I have to do Zoom calls today? Or, hey, I'll just do it next week. Hey, I'll do it in a few days. No. Steve Hyun had its identity, right? I had my identity. Steve Hyun had his identity of, hey, this is my standard of making $20,000 a month, of becoming a top producer, of becoming a national director, right? So I had a standard. So motivated or not motivated, I still did the work. Tired or not tired, I still did the work, right? Convention or not convention, I still did the work. I didn't need convention to hype me up or motivate me. I didn't need a new promotion. I didn't need a new starter pack. I didn't need the company to throw out bonuses and stuff like that. None of that mattered to me, guys. See, some of you, not all of you, but some of you are dependent on companies' promotions. Some of you are dependent on company, prizes. While others that have a high standard, none of that matters. Because we work because we have a standard. We build because we have a standard. You want to be that type of leader. Have a high standard. I always tell the team members, have a high standard. If somebody else is doing 10, 20, 30,000, 40,000 SP a month, you do 100,000. If someone's doing 100,000, you do a 200,000. If someone's doing 200,000, you do a million. Don't be at 100, 200, be close. Go for 10 times more. Go for 10 times more, right? That should be the standard, right? Why not, right? Why not, right? So moving forward, have a high standard, because as you have a high standard, what happens to your team? Their standards change as well. The only way your team standards change is when your standards change as well. So moving forward, start having some high standards, okay? Never ask your team to do what you're not doing. This is so critical, okay? A leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way, right? But also at the same time, you earn the right to lead by outworking the room. It's like you see Jackie Chan, national director, right? Traveling city to city, market to market, posting on social media, right? Very active, right? Is he allowed to tell people, hey, let's go do some meetings? 1,000%. Hey, go out there and post on more, be more active on social media. Can he say that? Of course. Why? Because he's active on social media. But if you're not active in social media, but you're telling others to be active in social media, you're telling people to do pop-ups, but you're not doing pop-ups. You're asking people to do meetings, but you're not doing meetings. You're asking people to get results, but you're not getting results. You can't do that. You have to lead by example. You have to. That's the best way to lead, leading by example. So if you want your team to do something, you got to be doing it, right? Leaders always go first. Leaders are still inviting, still presenting today, still recruiting today. The leader who stops doing quietly loses the right to be followed. If you're not an active leader now anymore, guess what? People don't have the right to follow you. There's a saying, if you stop learning, you should stop leading. A leader is always someone that keeps on learning. The more you learn, you're allowed to lead because you're working on yourself to become a great leader, right? But the minute you stop learning, you shouldn't be leading, right? If you're not active anymore, you should not be leading, right? You want to be active. You want to be in the game, right? Be the proof. Use what you sell. Live the result you're offering, right? Belief is caught, not taught, and it's caught from you. Okay, it's so important. When they see you in motion, when they see you in action, when they see you in the trenches, traveling back to back to back to back, pop up to pop up, zoom to zoom, right? When you're in the trenches, you become the proof and you set the temperature for your team. The team can't run hotter than the leader. On the hard days, you bring the belief. That is your job as a leader. You want to bring the energy and the fire to your meetings. When you come to the meeting, when you're in that room, when you walk in that room, people can sense your fire, your energy, your excitement. 1000%. I'm telling you right now, all of us need to raise our temperature because as we raise our temperature, everybody around us, temperature also goes up as well. Okay. You want to be the leader that does one more. Okay. This is the habit that separates leaders and everybody else. Success isn't one giant leap. It's the willingness to do more when everyone else stops. Think about this, right? Like you've seen the amount of Zoom calls I've done in a day before, right? I've said it many times. I've done maybe 12, 13, 14 Zoom calls in a day before. Maybe the max I've done before. And that's obviously a lot of Zoom calls, of course. But it was me first doing 6. Then I said, I'm gonna do one more, one more, one more, one more. It's that one more that you do, that one more Zoom call, that one more meeting, that one more country you go to, that one more little push you do, right? That separates you from everybody else. It's like at the gym, right? You're working out, you're doing the reps, but you know that last rep is the hardest rep, right? The hardest one. But you also know that last one also does the best for you at the same time. The same thing in our business as well. Going that extra mile and going for that one more message, one more phone call, one more meeting changes everything. There were so many times in my journey where I've done meetings and meetings and meetings, and someone said, hey, can we do one more meeting? I could have said, no, I'm tired, but I still did the one more meeting, even though it was 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. or later, right? Usually I don't like to do that, but sometimes when you're on your run, there's no time. It's like you're on your run, right? So you have to do kind of whatever it takes. But you want to be that type of leader. Be the leader that says, okay, let's do one more. Let's go, right? One more call, one more reach out, right? That's how you want to be, right? And eventually, guess what happens? You get one more leader, right? And if you have one more leader, obviously that helps in having the amount of leadership today, which also builds you, guess what? Another relationship, one more relationship. Get another person, build another relationship, right? Through repetition, Ed Milet says this as well. I love this quote. Through repetition, your obsessions eventually become your possessions. Guys, when I was on my ND run, I was obsessed about becoming a national director. Every single day, I thought about it every single day. When I woke up, when I went to sleep, when I woke up, when I went to sleep. I was even dreaming about it, right? That's how obsessed I was for national director. And when you could be obsessed about it, eventually it becomes your possession. So if you want to become a national director, right? Senior director, right? Whichever position you're going for, you got to be obsessed about it. You got to be obsessed about it. And you got to have the mindset of one more, one more, one more. Okay. So let's talk about now duplication. We talked about leadership part right now. And of course, I'm sure all of you got some good nuggets on leadership, on what to do now as a leader or to improve yourself as a leader. Let's talk about now duplication, because this is the second part of the training. And leadership, right, makes people want to follow, but duplication is how you turn those followers into leaders who build without you, which of course we all want. We don't want to be someone that builds everything by ourselves. We want to be someone that helps others, and we want that to duplicate, okay? So let's talk about duplication, okay? Duplication means leaders making leaders. A great producer adds, but a great developer multiplies. The difference shows up a few levels deep, right? Where your leaders building leaders on their own, right? If you look at your structure today, it's you, right? You have your leaders, okay? And there's more leaders below, right? You got to see how well is it developing? How well is it duplicating on your level 2, 3, 4, 5, and on, right? Someone that has leaders and leaders and leaders and leaders and leaders, duplicated, right? That's sign of a good leader. That's not a good, healthy duplication. If it's you and one layer and it stops there, guess what you got to work on? You got to work on becoming a great developer, right? That multiplies leaders, right? So you have to look at your structure today, right? You want to build depth, okay? You want to build depth. You want to have a structure. You want to have a team. Make sure that your business is duplicating, okay? So working harder adds, duplicating multiplies. And I'll give you guys an example, okay? I could be working with, right, 8 people, me and 8 people working hard by ourselves, just all of us 8, right? But as soon as I build a team, right? Sorry, let me take that back. I could be working hard by myself, right? And that's great. But myself, I'm always limited to the amount of work and obviously the revenue I can do by myself. But if I have a team of 8 working people alone, right? Yes, that's better than working by myself. But the minute I could duplicate the 8 individuals, right? The minute I could duplicate that, 8 times 8 becomes 64. 64 times 2 becomes 128, right? That's a good, healthy duplication, right? Now I have 128 people in my team. That's a 16x from the number 8. So you could build a team of 8, which we should all, right? Build a team of 3, 5, 8. Let's say you're at, like, I'm just giving an example of an 8 number. And that 8 becomes 64. That number 64 becomes 128, right? That's a 16x. You just multiplied yourself by 16 times. 16 times. So remember, our business is about duplication. It's not about you being a superstar. It's about what duplicates, okay? And there's a simple path we all can follow, okay? And here's the path, and here's what we want to follow. Remember, complexity kills duplication, okay? John C. Maxwell always talks about systems create consistency. One repeatable process means a brand new person can plug in on day one. Here's what it is, right? You first do the invitation, right? Which is just pretty much reaching out and speaking curiosity. You invite them to the presentation. Let the story, let Riemann present, okay? Or that you invite them to a pop-up, let them try the products out, either or, okay? Now, at the pop-up, obviously, you're going to help them sign up, or they'll go home, try the products for about a week or 2 weeks or a couple of days. You follow up with them, and then you sign them up afterwards. Then you bring them to the orientation, or you do a personal launch, right? You write down what their goals are. You help them with their short-term, long-term goals. You help them do their first pop-up as well, right? And you want that to duplicate. This is something all of us can follow. Very simple steps, right? Invite, we present, we follow up and close, and we launch them. And we want that to duplicate over and over and over again. Can everyone invite for people to get a free facial? 1000%, right? Can everyone share about the products or share about the company very briefly? For sure, right? It's just skincare, right? It's nothing too complicated, right? Can we follow up with individuals a couple days later and say, hey, how's your skin looking? How's your skin feeling? How are you feeling after using the skincare, right? We can all do that. And then we can all set up a call, right, with our uplines or sponsors or directors or team leaders to do a launch call, right? If they like it, now they want us to get started. Well, when they get started, a launch call is their game plan for brand new people. That's why we have the orientation, right? You want to invite them to a Tuesday orientation. However, if they can't make it, you want to have a launch because you're helping a brand new person get started into the game plan, okay? So this is the couple steps that all of us need to follow and need to duplicate, okay? The 4-step ladder from doing to duplicating, okay? Most leaders stop at step 3 and build doers, but level 4 leaders, they take the last step and build builders, okay? So here's what it is. First ladder is this. I do it, you watch, right? So you do it and you have other people watch. It's like me doing a presentation. I do it, you guys are watching me doing a presentation, right? I'm at a pop-up. I can do the pop-up and you guys can be watching, right? And all of you can do the same thing. Second thing is, right, with myself, maybe my team members, we do it together, right? We do it together. In the beginning, I did a few by myself. Now the third or fourth one, hey, let's do it together. Now you're doing it with your team members, the pop-up together, the presentation together, the training together. You guys are doing it together. The next stage is, hey, you let your leaders do it on their own now. You let your leaders do their own presentations, their own pop-ups, and you watch and you coach and correct, right? You coach and correct, right? Right? That's where most of the people stop right here. The next is you teach the next, right? You teach the next steps. And you want that to duplicate, right? It's not about now just, hey, let me just present now. Let me just do a pop-up now, right? What's next after that? Well, it's about now taking a new person in, right? Launching them, right? Developing them, helping them do their own pop-ups, right? And you want that to duplicate over and over and over again, right? Most people, right? You do a presentation, you do a pop-up, you do a facial, then you do it with your team members, then you have them do it, and you stop there. Most people cannot stop and go past number 3. But I'm letting all of you know there's number 4 that all of you have to do, which is now the part where you're now getting that leader to duplicate more leaders. Got it? You teach the next step. Hey, next time you have, you tell them, hey, next time you get a new person signed up, let's make sure you launch them. This is what you do in a launch. This is how you do a pop-up, right? These are the steps, right? You teach them what you were taught, and you want that to duplicate. And guess what happens? If they teach them correctly, then it duplicates again and again and again and again. And that's the ladder of duplication in your business. The reason some of you haven't really duplicated your business is because you're either at number 1, 2, or 3, right? So you got to see where you got to fix your business right now or your duplication skills so you can go to number 4, okay? So remember, 1, 2, and 3, 4, that's the 4 ladders of duplications. And another thing that we want to talk about is connection before correction, okay? Understand one thing. People don't quit companies. They quit feeling unseen, okay? There's always a saying, which we all know the saying, right? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Complan doesn't retain people. Connection does, right? Duplication only works if people stay long enough to be developed, okay? Meaning, let's say, for example, me and you met, and you're the leader, I'm a brand new prospect, okay? And you introduced me to Riemann. I liked it. I joined. We did a launch call. We did a launch together. You asked me what my short-term goals are, what my long-term goals are. I told you what my short-term goals are, what my long-term goals are. You told me, hey, let's go set up a pop-up. I said, sure, let's set up 2 pop-ups, right? I did all that. And I set up 2 pop-ups, right? But if there was no connection built along the way and no relationship built along the way, guess what? 2, 3 months from today, I could quit. I could quit easily. Because why? I don't have a connection to you. I don't have a connection to the company. But if we build a relationship, doing it together, talking, connecting, right? Sharing what your why is, finding out what the real reasons are, what's driving them, right? What the motivation is. If they have kids, if I can relate with them, whatever I can do to relate with them, right? If I build that relationship, guess what? They're going to go. They're going to keep on going. Remember, people, right? People don't quit on friends, but people can quit on a business, right? People can easily quit on a business or work, but usually a friendship, people don't quit on, right? That's why they always say, like, you want to build that relationship, right? Always be the leader that listens first. Let your people talk to you first, right? Know their why, not just the numbers, right? The why is the fuel that keeps them going. So if it was the other way around and me and you were brand new, you're brand new, I'm the leader, and I'm let's say gonna talk to, let's say, Frankie here. All right. I see Frankie all the time. He's always on video. He's always from Hong Kong. He's always unplugging in, right? And I got to see him in Hong Kong just a few weeks ago as well, right? If I'm having a conversation with Frankie, right, and I'm meeting him, guess what? Of course, I'm going to ask him, hey, nice to meet you, Frankie, right? What do you do for work? You get married? Are you kids? I want to find out everything. Where do you live, right? Tell me Hong Kong. He's not married, got 2 kids. Oh, how old are your kids? I want to find out how old they are. Are they older in high school? Maybe they're little toddlers, right? I want to find out as much as possible about Frankie, right? And then, I'm going to find out, okay, what made you want to do Riemann, right? Or what is the products? What is the comp plan? Or you're maybe doing this to make some extra income? Or is it for, maybe for some, money for your kids' college tuition, right? I want to find out what his reasons are for him doing Remon, okay? And if he tells me, hey, you know what? I love personal development. I love the leadership talks we have with the company. I love the fact that the skincare is amazing too, but my wife loves it. Plus, we're making good money, but at the same time, if I could become a director, senior director, national director, and build some good passive income, this will help me so much later on because as my kids go off to college and university, and there's a lot of expenses later on I got to pay for the next 10, 20 years. I would love to not worry about that, but I would also love to have more time with my kids as they grow up before they hit 18, right? So if he's telling me this, right? If he's telling me this, okay, he wants to spend more time with his kids before they hit 18 and plus. Because why? Because we all know, many parents know that as kids turn 18 and older, they're out of your house sometimes, right? 21, 22, 25, they're out of your house, right? Or later. So we want to value the time we have from now to till they're 18 or 21 years old, right? So if Riemann could be the vehicle to give Frankie back more time to be with his kids between the ages of 10, 12, 14, and more, that's a huge blessing. So if I know that about him, if I know that that's his why, and we're working together, and maybe he's having some tough times. Hey, Frankie, I know it's a tough time. Hey, look, we all go through these tough times. It's normal. I went through it too. But remember, we're doing this for your kids so that you can have more time freedom. So let's do this for your kids. Let's work hard. Let's keep on going. Then I know his why. Then guess what? He's working. I'm working. We're working together because why? I'm working hard so that he can achieve his goals. I'm working hard so that he can achieve his goal through Riemann so that he could have more time. That's my biggest blessing as a leader. But for Frankie, that's a big blessing for him, not because now he'll have more time for his kids. You guys understand that? So you gotta listen first. You gotta listen first. Let them speak more. Let them speak more. 80% them, 20% you. You get the information. And then, as Frankie is just getting started, he's brand new, let's say manager, senior manager, right? He's on his way, signed up his first partner too. Guess what you got to do? You got to recognize that. Recognize the production, recognize the promotions, new SM, new manager. Great job, Frankie. Union level done. Congratulations. Recognize, 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 recognize. When people get recognized, that's how you grow your people, right? Right? Anyone can lead a winner. Be there when they struggle, right? That's where the loyalty is built, right? That's where loyalty is built. When people are having tough times, going through difficulties, you step in as a leader. You say, "Don't worry about it. We got this." Right? You come in. You say, "I got your back. We're gonna do it together. We're gonna make it happen. We're gonna become a team leader." Right? That's where you want to show up as a leader. And when you could show that type of, posture and feeling, and you show it with your actual emotions, right? People could sense that, guys. People could sense real leaders and fake leaders. People want to work with authentic leaders. Remember that, authentic leaders. If you're acting fake, people can know you're fake. Authenticity is the type of leader we all want to work with, a genuine, authentic person, right? That helps you from the heart, right? Not just thinking about themselves. That's the type of person you want to be as you work and develop with people. When I work with people, guys, I'm working my, day and night to help people, right? Day and night. Because the single greatest thing for me now today is when others win. I love seeing others win. That's the biggest happiness for me today when others win, right? So that's my goal. I want to help others win, right? I want to help others win, right? That's my goal, right? And when I see them win, that's the biggest blessing, right? So remember that people can see that, and you got to make sure that you are leading by example, but at the same time, you are showing people that, hey, you know what? I'm here to listen. I'm going to give you the recognition. Plus, I'm going to be here during tough times, right? So remember that people don't quit companies. They quit feeling unseen, okay? Proximity is power, okay? Who your team is around is who your team becomes, right? Think about this, right? When we're all together at a convention, think about how excited we all become. Think about how much more energetic we become. Think about how much more pumped up we get, or we get motivated or inspired at a convention because we're surrounded by the right people, right? We're surrounded by the right people, right? That's why it's so important always to get your people to every event. every call, every leadership session, just like this. Think about this. All of us that are on the call today, we can all agree that we're getting a few things that are helping us. We're learning a few things today, right? But think about if every one of your team members were on this call today. Think about if every one of your team members were getting this information today, right? It's like when people are not on these calls, guess what they're doing? They're outside having fun, traveling, doing whatever they're doing, right? And when they're outside, not in part of the leadership community, right? There's a lot of negative things that could pop up. There may be out with friends or family, and there people might say, "Oh, you're still doing that thing? You're still doing that Remon thing? How's it going for you today? Are you a national director today?" People can say those negative things today, and that could affect them, right? That's why you want to get people plugged into the right proximity of being in the right leadership circle with people that are thinking bigger, people that are helping each other, encouraging other, and motivating other, right? That's where you want to be a part of. Think about this. If you take 10 puppies, right, and they're all clean except one puppy, one dirty puppy goes in a room with 10 puppies, guess what happens to all 9 puppies? They all become dirty as well. One person, one negative person can affect the entire room, right? In the entire room. Same thing in our business as well, guys. Same thing in our business. It only takes one person, right? If they don't have the right mindset yet, if they don't have the right leadership skills yet, one person, one comment can take a new person excited one day and they could quit the next day. One spouse can say one thing and the wife can quit like this instantly. It can happen because I've seen it happen so many times. You got to have the right mindset. You got to have the right mindset, the right posture, the right leadership skills, but also be a part of the right community to protect your mind always, right? We see it all the time. It's not only in our industry, it happens every single time, okay? Remember, as we talked earlier, okay? Leadership, okay? You want to be the person that becomes worth following, okay? You want to become the person worth following. Because if you become that person, you automatically develop and you duplicate and you produce the leaders. And when you produce the leaders, it empowers the leadership as well. And that becomes a cycle, guys. That becomes a cycle. Leadership, duplication. Leadership, duplication, right? Leaders create duplication. And then duplication creates leaders. That's the cycle we have here. That's the cycle we have here. And that's why all of us, right, need to grow ourselves, grow our lids, become the better leaders, be the example, become authentic leaders, and let that duplicate into our team members as well. Okay? So before our next training, right, do one thing, raise one standard, right? Ask yourself this question today. What's one standard you're going to change in your Remon business moving forward from today and on? Right? What's one standard you could change? Maybe it could be an income goal, right? Whatever you made so far, forget about it. And ask yourself, okay, what's the minimum amount of income you want to be earning in Remon? And that could be the standard. And your mindset should be this: no matter what, every month you're making minimum that or more, okay? Minimum that or more, that could be a standard. It could be, okay, how many pop-ups you do in a month, right? Is it going to be 2 pop-ups a month? It will be 10 pop-ups a month, right? What kind of standard are you going to have with pop-ups, right? And then you tell yourself, no matter what, every month I have to do X amount. Before August starts, I'm already going to have my schedule. This date, this date, this date, this date, this date, this date, this date. I have my 10 pop-ups scheduled. I'm not changing it. I'm going to do it no matter what. And I'm going to invite everyone to the pop-up to make sure that we have great pop-ups set up for the next 30 days, right? You got to have a standard. You got to have a standard. And commit to yourself in raising one standard, right? And do it and get it done. Next thing you want to focus on is move one person up in your team, right? Help one new team member become an SM. Help one new team member become the next team leader, right? Help that one person take the next step in following you and becoming a great leader. Who's that one person you're going to coach to follow you to do the same things you're doing today? Who are you going to develop today, right? Make one person feel seen. Who in your team have you not recognized recently, right? Recognize that one person, right? We can all become great, better leaders. If we could raise our standards, if you can move another person up, if you could recognize a new person, right? We can all do that, right? Before next week, we should all do that. This week, recognize your leaders this week. Whether it was they did union level, whether they made a commitment to convention, whatever the case may be, let's recognize more, right? Let's move our people up, right? And let's raise one standard, right? Become the leader worth following. Then reproduce yourself and others, right? Your team doesn't need a hero. It needs it needs a leader who builds leaders. Now go do one more, right? Go do one more, right? Let's all go out there and do one more. And in closing, as we close out the training today, the last thing I want to share, of course, is that fact that our convention is obviously coming up, which of course we all know, right? Which we all know. And I want to share something here. So right now with our excess team, right? We're at about maybe 300 people attending the convention. 300 people, okay? The goal for our team is 1,000, okay? And here's the math. If 300 of us, okay, brought another person, just one more, we would have 600 people at the convention. One more will bring us to 600 people, guys. But if we brought two more people, we would be at 900 people at convention, right? All it takes is all of us just doing one more. That's it, one more. So don't just attend convention, bring somebody with you. Bring two people with you. Bring three, bring four, bring five. Bring as many as you can, right? I've set a personal goal of mine just because I love to just challenge myself, right? I love to challenge myself and set personal goals myself. I have a goal myself, telling myself, you know what? Okay, we have 2 weeks left in convention, 2 weeks left. And me personally, I'm going to bring 50 new prospects to convention. You guys saw what I put in the chat today, right? I have 2 estheticians that are going to be joining us today, right? So I love challenging myself like that. I love putting the pressure on myself like that because, many people would say, hey, Steve, 50 people is insane. 20 people is insane. I mean, I might not hit 50. I might only do 10. I might only do 20. I don't know, right? But sometimes in life, we have to challenge ourselves. Because if you don't challenge yourself, who's going to ever challenge you? How are you going to ever grow, right? How are you going to ever put that pressure on you, right? Sometimes you have to do that, not just because you want to get results, right? It's because you want to grow, right? You want to grow yourself, right? And you have to push yourself sometimes, right? When you're kids, when all of us, obviously all of us, we were kids before. Do you remember when you were kids, 5 years old, 7 years old? Your parents pushed you, right? To work a little bit harder, to get a little bit better grades. Or sports, right? Playing sports. They pushed you. Now a lot of you are adults. Who's pushing you today? Nobody. Nobody's pushing you today. So that's why it's important to push yourself. Put the pressure on yourself today. Challenge yourself. Challenge Aurora, right? Challenge Howard. Challenge yourself, Elizabeth. Challenge yourself, Angela. Challenge yourself, Anissa, right? Annie, right? Challenge yourself. It's you against you. It's you against yourself. Challenge yourself and tell yourself, okay, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to challenge myself to do this much more. I'm going to challenge myself to get this done by this time. I'm going to challenge myself to become this position by this date. And if you could do so, and you could challenge yourself, I'm telling you right now, you'll get much closer to that goal versus not challenging yourself, right? It's 100% true. It's 100% true. And that's why, man, when all of us were little kids and we got challenged, we all became a little bit better. We all became a little bit better, whether it was through school or sports. Some of you are parents today. How many times are you challenging your kids or promoting your kids or motivating your kids that they're doing great? You're recognizing them. You're cheering them on, right? If you're a parent, I mean, I'm not a parent, but many of you are parents. I'm sure you guys do it all the time. When you're adults, no one's doing that for you. That's why it's so important for all of us to do it for ourselves so that we could become the example, that you could change, become great leaders in this industry, and you could have a turning point, right? where you become that leader that needs to win for you, your family, your kids, your future with us as well. So I appreciate all of you for joining us on our leadership session number 4. I hope today you guys got a few good nuggets and information that could help better your business and your leadership skills. But also, at the same time, I look forward to seeing you guys in convention in 2 weeks. We still have 2 weeks left. So I look forward to seeing you guys in 2 weeks. Next week, July 31st, is our last leadership session, guys. July 31st is the last leadership session number 5. Once again, if you complete all 5, you do get a physical certificate of completing the Access Leadership Academy. Looking forward to, of course, having a great session with all of you guys on leadership number 5. Thank you all for joining today. It was a great session with all of you tonight, and of course in the morning. And of course, we'll see you guys on the next call. Have a good night. Have a good day. God bless, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.